It was a baking hot summer on the Skarloey Railway. All the engines were exhausted. But none were more exhausted than Skarloey. He was the oldest engine on the line, and he tired more easy than the others. But he was always determined to get any job done. But the same could not be said about the new diesel. His name was Fred, and he wasn't the kindest engine. He was constantly mocking the steam engines and making rude remarks to them. He was also incredibly lazy. One morning, Fred was complaining at the sheds. He had only been on the island for 2 weeks, and the others were already finding him insufferable.
All this soot and steam is making me cough. Oh, you lot have no idea what being sanitary means.
The others all gave him a dirty look and scoffed.
I'm surprised that old red engine hasn't collapsed yet from this dreadful heat and constant work.
It was unfortunate that Skarloey was not at the sheds to tell Fred what he thought. But Reneus was doing just that. Skarloey has done more work in 1 week than you will ever do. Duck once told me about a devious diesel that told lies about him years ago. You don't sound too different from him. If you keep this attitude up, you will most likely get sent packing like the diesel did. The other engines also wanted to tell Fred what they thought of him. But there was no need to, as Reneus had already unloaded everything. Fred was having none of this.
Right, I'm off to find a more welcoming place than this rotten yard.
And Fred went off whinging and moaning out the yard. Later that day, Skarloey was at the station getting ready to pull his train of trucks. Then, the yard manager came over to him. Duncan's coupling rods have broken, and Rusty has taken him to the works. He's meant to take a train of tankers, but he can't now, and you're the only engine available. I was going to get Peter Sam to do it, but he has to take a train of engine parts to the other railway at Vickerstown. But he will shut the tankers into your train. Do you think you can manage? Oh, I'm sure I can. I've taken many heavy loads before plenty of times. Peter Sam shunted the tankers onto Skarloey's train, and Skarloey set off. Oh boy, this is heavier than I thought. The run wasn't too bad, at flat grounds at least. Going uphill was different. Skarloey felt the trucks yanking on his coupling as they ascended. The weight was pulling him back, but Skarloey was strong. And he made it up the hill every time he climbed. However, he did need to take on water more than often. He eventually reached the middle station. But to find Fred, who was coughing and spluttering in the shed. What's going on? Skarloey asked. He saw Fred's driver furiously working on Fred. This silly engine keeps muttering that there is something wrong with his engine, and his train is due for the top station and needs to leave in 5 minutes.
Oh, for goodness sakes, it's the blasted heat. It isn't doing me any good.
Skarloey could see right through Fred. Making excuses to get out of work is not acceptable, young engine. The driver, now realizing that Fred tricked him, was not having it anymore. Right, I'll tell you what. If you don't want to work, your wish is granted. You could stay at the back of the shed for a week. Skarloey saw that Fred wasn't going to cooperate, and the train was going to be late. He only had one thing to say. Right, I'll take the trucks if he refuses to. Fred's driver was shocked. Are you sure? I heard you were struggling with the load you already have. It isn't ideal to take on such a load in such hot conditions. Well, as the number one engine, it is my job to make sure that every train I take is on time, and to make sure that no train isn't late for its destination. Very well then, said the driver. In no time, Skarloey was coupled to Fred's wagons and left the station, straining but wearing a face of triumph. Fred was most surprised as he saw the long consist leave his sight. It was a very challenging task, and there seemed to be more hills than ever. But Skarloey puffed on. Just as the sun was going down, he puffed proudly into the top station. "I'm here, at last," he wheezed. Skarloey was too tired to puff back home, though he spent the night at the quarry. But the story had already travelled down from the mountains to the other engines, and they were all very proud of their number one engine. However, in the cold darkness at the shed at the middle station, Fred was thinking about what he said. Hopefully he's learned his lesson about disrespecting the older engines. "Oh, what a lovely day pulling this train, and oh my goodness! Oh, help! Oh, it's falling! Oh, the fin controller's gonna kill me for this! Oh, what did I do? What did I do? Oh."